We are here with Easy Fresh. Introduce yourself to the audience. Tell us your name, your tell us your name, your age, and
There we go. There we go. There we go.
yo. But yeah, tell us your name, your age, and where you're from.
Okay, so my name's Chris Mendez, aka Easy Fresh. I'm 19 years old and I've been living in Florida my whole life, born and raised.
Dope, dope. I noticed you have that Florida accent too.
Really?
Yeah,
I don't hear
Florida
it.
Floridians, they have that accent. Um, you know,
I
it's
guess I guess people don't talk about it that much. When you think about accents, you think about New York, Jersey, Alabama, but not really a Floridian accent, honestly. But all right, cool.
Yeah,
I
same
I,
thing
I
with
love it.
Virginians. Like us as Virginians, we can't even hear our accent. I don't even think us as Virginians even have one.
I guess you guys do. Because like I said, I never heard of a Floridian accent. That's the first time I heard of that. But I guess so. I guess so.
Yeah, I'm just playing with you. You don't have an accent. I'm just playing with you. I just wanted to see how long we could go with that. Anyways,
I know, right?
yeah, I
I'm
was
like, how
like,
much is she being real?
nah, nah. I was like, if you would have told, like, if like before I knew you was from Florida, I thought for sure you
uh,
might have been from like California or like out west
yeah,
somewhere. You know what I'm saying? Like I didn't
I
even
get
think
that a
of
lot.
Florida. So,
Yeah,
but
that's true.
yeah.
I get that a lot.
Yeah,
I
Florida is
feel
a
it.
melting pot, so everybody has like a neutral accent out there. It's like it's not really an
Florida's a
accent.
mess. Let's leave it at that. Florida's a mess. That's why we don't have accents, because like you'll have like a big population of Latinos, and
Hmm.
then you got all the ghettos in Florida, but then you also got all the Caucasian people. But it's like honestly, Florida's a mix of a lot of continents put together into one little state. That's what Florida is honestly at this point. But yeah, I
True.
feel that.
It's kind of like Virginia too. Like if you come to Virginia, that's why a lot of people in Virginia don't really have an accent like that. Everybody just kind of
Mhm.
sounds like a news reporter, if
We
anything.
all
Everybody
got
has
like
that
our own.
neutral accent.
Yeah, we all got our own places that we're from. That's why we don't deal with like having an accent here. But yeah, I feel that. I feel that.
Yeah. But anyways, let's just get right into this. So,
Yeah, let's
what
do it.
made you want to give yourself the name Easy Fresh? And like have you had any past names, which I know you do? Have you had any past rap names and stuff like that? And what was the evolution of you getting to the name of Easy Fresh? Because when people hear Easy Fresh
Hmm.
today, they kind of think of like, oh, that's kind of like a older school name, but mixed with kind of like a new school name at the
Yeah,
same
that's true.
time. So like, what
Yeah, that's
made you
true.
create that?
So originally, when I started doing hip hop and rapping and everything, I had so many names. I went from like Kid Ice to Doctor Ice to Chris. I never really had an actual name. And then one random day, one of my friends in the class called me, "Hey, look, it's Doctor Fresh in the class." I'm like, I don't know where that came from, but I kind of like it. It's better than anything I came up with. So
Mm-hmm.
for good, like until my last song from 3 years ago, from which was called Reminisce, that I did with a homeboy of mine at the time. I kept on going by Dr. Fresh because it was all I really had, all I really liked, to be honest. And it wasn't until I made my comeback a couple months ago that I was like, you know what? I kind of want to go under a new name now. They ain't really known with Dr. Fresh, but I wasn't really feeling it like I used to. Because, like I said, I got that name when I was 12 years old. The new song that I just released back in November, I was 18, 6 year difference, almost 7 years, honestly. So obviously I have a love for the old school, easy. Like if you look at the way I dress, my hat says Compton and easy on the side. I own a pair of lows. I'm always wearing Adidas. I'm always wearing all black, except like right now. But and that was something that Eazy-E kind of introduced. That he was like, you know what, we an all-star group. We gotta look like an all-star group. And not only that, but my last name is Mendez, which ends with Easy. So I felt like, you know what? It's a great way to pay homage, but also go a little original because I didn't want to have to spell it Easy like Easy E. I want to spell it a little differently. So it
Mm-hmm.
was kind of like the perfect opportunity for that. So
I
yeah, that's
like
how I
that.
kind of stuck with the name.
Yeah,
Yeah,
that's
yeah,
dope. But
yeah.
so once you got your name together, or I would say prior to the Easy Fresh name, once you got your first initial rap name together, uh
Hmm.
when did you start taking rap seriously, like, like with your name and using it,
Hmm.
all that type of stuff?
So this is the thing, like when I look back at my past music, right, you gotta remember I took a 3 year break. So the last time I had released a song, I was 15 at the time. So I didn't, so everything at that point and before, I didn't really take it seriously because if you look at my wording, my rhyming, I wasn't really like, I was focusing so much on the rhyming because everybody used to tell me, oh, you should focus on rhyming. You know, nobody really
Mm-hmm.
cares about bars, nobody really cares about any of that stuff. So if you look at all my past songs, you would see, oh damn, he's got really great rhyming, but in the sense of like metaphors, references, bars, there was really nothing. You know, back then when I used to write music, I used to just write the rhymes, you know,
Mm-hmm.
like two words, new verse, two words, and then like I would just add in the lines later. So it wasn't until I made my comeback a couple months ago that I was like, you know what? I want to actually rap, not just rhyme in every sentence, not just say something that might sound cool. I want to actually speak the truth. And
Mm-hmm.
you know, for what the song was at the time, it's called Throwback. It was basically an old school song, you know, on the album that was featured on. You know, it was good for like, hey, being a throwback song. You got the old school references from Wu Tang to New Edition to Bobby Brown. You know, you got all these references. So it wasn't really until that song, you know, which was just a couple months ago, I guess you could say, I actually started taking it seriously. You
Mm-hmm.
know, but yeah,
And
sure.
it's like I could definitely see an evolution in your music to where you are really like rapping like
Hmm.
lyrically wise now compared to like just
Yeah,
rhyming
that's
stuff.
true.
But I feel like all of us as rappers, we kind of not even as rappers, but just even as singers, songwriters, whatever. I feel like we all
Hmm.
kind of started out that way, especially if you start at a young age. Like say like me and you, like we started real young. Like I started at the age of like nine,
Yeah,
10 years old. And I was
yeah,
just
that's true.
I was just like writing just to rhyme stuff. I never forget my very first rap song was called uh the greatest or I am the greatest. And it was like I am the greatest something so I was like
I feel that.
some
I
I
feel that. That
forgot
reminds
the
me.
I forgot the I still got the book down here, like my very first
Oh
rap
my
song.
god.
But it's like I forgot the lyrics, but it was like I was
Yeah,
just
I
rhyming
feel you
just
though.
to be rhyming. You know what I'm saying? It had no
Exactly.
substance to it. So it's like
There was really no meaning. There was never really any meaning to it. It was just, oh look, I can rhyme like this while everybody is still saying, hey, late, mate, and I'm here rhyming two syllables like I was doing something cool. And like now, I still do that, but I kind of focus more on like, you know, the wording, the bars, the metaphors. Like, don't get me wrong, I'll focus on the rhyming as well, but
mhm.
it's definitely a lot different than what you would have seen me do like 3, 4 plus years ago for sure.
Right,
I
right,
feel that. I feel
definitely.
that. For
But so like with the way like your style of hip hop, so we're gonna kind of switch it up
sure.
here. So like your style of hip hop, where does it come from?
Hmm.
And I would say, you know, actually not where does it come from, but who first introduced you to hip hop? That's something I wanted to ask you just over the phone, but yeah.
I feel that. So I did not listen to hip hop until I was in the seventh grade. In the seventh
Mhm.
grade, my pops showed me a little CD he had from like I'm gonna say 10, 15 plus years ago. And I for the first time listened to Big Pun. I listened to Eminem. I listened to Biggie. And this was the first time, you know, at the time, you know, seventh grade Vine was kind of a thing. So I
Mhm.
kind of already heard like parts of like Biggie song Hypnotized. So I'm like, oh, I heard this song. And it was kind of like that was my introduction to hip hop. And
Mhm.
from then on, you know, I kind of did a little research on myself. I'm like, Ice Cube used to be a rapper? Like, really? Because like I said, I was 12 years old. Ice Cube was just another actor for me. It was never really like I didn't know he was an actual rapper. And then seeing like the impact he had on hip hop, and that's where it kind of started. And with NWA starting, you know, that's kind of like where I got my flow from. You know, listening to Eazy-E, listening to you know, all these old school artists. You got Pac, you got Biggie, you got Big L, Run DMC, Bone Thugs and Harmony. And that's kind of like where I ended up getting the flow from. And from my first cover to all the way till even throwback, all I ever did was old school. You know, you
Mhm.
would never hear me rap on like a Wiz Khalifa beat, Chance the Rapper beat. There would always be like a Tupac type beat or a beat that's already been made. So that's kind of like now I'm trying to experiment more with trap, new school, funk, lo-fi. I'm trying to do a little bit more than just old school. So
Right.
that's kind of like the easy flow originated from, to be honest.
Wow.
Yeah,
So with
yeah.
that being said, like, um, with the rapper Eazy-E, I know you always
Mhm.
talk about him. Like,
Oh
how
yeah.
has he influenced you a lot? You know what I'm saying? Like what was your first introduction just specifically to Eazy-E and like just wanting to, really kind of like carry on his legacy through your style of rapping?
So Easy E, of course, the first time I listened to him was in NWA.
Mm-hmm.
And what I found so unique about Easy is you can easily tell, haha, easily,
Easily. I'm sorry.
easily. Oh my God. Anyways, you could easily tell when it was Easy E rapping, where he was featuring on somebody else's music, or it was the NWA tracks. You could easily tell. Oh yeah, that's Easy E right there.
Right.
And for me, like what I found so unique, and this is kind of like another similarity I always saw myself in, Easy was between 5'2" and 5'5". These days, almost everybody's tall, at least 5'8", 5'9", always usually taller, and I'm still stuck at like 5'3", 5'4". I've been this tall since I was 11, 10 years old.
Well, you're taller than
So
me. I'm
for me,
5'2".
but this is the thing. This is the thing here in Florida, especially when you're a guy. Oh my God, you do not know how many times like people would hear me rap, people would hear me talk, people would hear my maturity, and they're expecting, oh, he must be 6 feet, 6'2", 6'4", and then like I'm a whole foot shorter than that. And what I found so unique about Easy is well, just the way he thought. Easy grew up in that thug life. He grew up in Compton. Guns, drugs, gang banging, all those type of things. But
Mhm.
Easy was one of the first to speak on what was really happening.
Right.
Like if you listen, kids, do not listen to this if you're younger than a teenager, but in a song called Dope Man he had with NWA, yeah, he's talking about, oh yeah, I got the money, I got the clothes, I got the cars. But when you deal in that life of dealing with drugs, you either end up 25 to life or you end up dead. And
Right.
Easy was one of the first to say that for people that actually acknowledge, like, because when NWA came out, everybody wants to be a gangster. Everybody wants to say they from Compton. Everybody wants to say, oh yeah, I've been smoking weed and doing crack all my life. But Easy kind of started seeing the negative impact he had. He's like, I'm
Mhm.
gonna say whatever I want, and I'm gonna say how I want it. But these people deserve to know what the truth is as well. Yeah, you can smoke, you can do all these things, you can get all the money from that, but don't expect that to be forever. I mean, Easy was basically saying, I do this because I was taught that way. I didn't grow up in an environment with rainbows and flowers. No, I grew up with fences and, those type of things. So, Easy was one of the realest that you'd ever listen to. Of course, his voice was just amazing. The way I dress, I'm not a guy who likes designer a lot. If it looks nice, I'll definitely dress up like that. But
Mhm.
Easy had such a simple style. He wore all black, Adidas, skinny jeans, black leather jacket. And that's where I was like, you know what? He kept it so real. He
Mhm.
wasn't covered in Gucci from head to toe. And he had money. Ruthless Records, the label he ran was one of the, if I'm not mistaken, it was the most profitable label in the 90s. So
Mhm.
he definitely had all the money he could have wanted, but he still kept it simple, like little flannels he would wear. He wore the same Compton hat from when he started, and that's kind of like what I do to stay humble, no matter how popular I can get in this rap game, no matter how much money I can get, you'll probably still see me wearing this, plain white t-shirt, hat I got from eBay, nothing too special. If it looks nice, I'll wear it. If it's just a brand, I don't really care. What I mean? That's how I've always rolled. And Easy was a big inspiration in that. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, that's dope, man. Like just knowing the whole history behind that because I'm like, honestly, there's not a lot of I mean, there are rappers, trust me, that looks up to Eazy-E, but I feel like Easy like he doesn't really get a lot of the credit from a lot of rappers as he should. Like nowadays, like
Mm-hmm.
from a lot of the newer rappers as he should. Because
Mm-hmm.
I'm like, honestly, if you listen to a lot of new rappers, their
Mm-hmm.
lyricism is similar to like Easy E style, but I mean, not like
Mm-hmm.
super similar. But
It's like
like
I
everybody
see
has
I
a
see where
little
you're
bit
going
of
with that.
Easy
Yeah.
E in them. You know what I'm saying? That's
Oh
what I'm
yeah,
trying to
for
say. Like
sure.
every rapper, if you are a trap rapper, you have a little bit of Easy E in you. You got a little bit of
Oh, for
Easy E
sure.
and Ti. all them people up in you. That's all trap. Like honestly, if you want to be honest, NWA is
Uh,
kind of like the first trap like rappers. If you want to be
yeah,
honest about it.
and that's the thing about NWA. Like NWA was the one who introduced gangster rap,
Mm-hmm.
introduced rapping that would be explicit. Because if you look at before NWA, maybe Two Live Crew was like, yeah, they would like be a little like dirty in their songs here and there. But if you're talking about the streets, talking about trapping, like what people consider trapping is when you
Mm-hmm.
talk about the streets, that all started with NWA.
Right.
NWA paved the door open for artists like Pac, Eminem, 50 Cent, J. Cole, Kendrick Lamar. You wouldn't have none of these artists if you really think about it, if it wasn't for NWA.
Right.
Because, before NWA, who were you hearing say F the police? Who were you here saying, oh yeah, I used to sell crack for a living?
Mm-hmm.
Nobody. So
Maybe
a lot
Ice
of rap
T, but that
songs,
was it.
not even, because like Ice T was kind of like gangster, but he didn't really show it like that until
True.
like a little bit after NWA. You know what I
Mm-hmm.
mean? And that's what I'm saying. Like a lot of people pay no respect to that because all the music you're talking about, the life you used to live in the ghetto and the project, it was NWA who started talking about that first because nobody else either they didn't have a voice to be heard or they were scared or people just didn't want to know what the truth was. And that was one of the biggest problems. Still to this day, a lot of people don't want to admit, but a lot of problems we had in the 80s that NWA was rapping about still still going on today, sadly, to be
Yeah, I
honest.
mean, like, look at what, like, just turn on the news right now. Like, I bet you all the stuff that's going on in the news right now, like, literally, Ice Cube just talked about, a lot of stuff that's going on in the news right now with all the injustice with, police brutality and all that. Like, he
That
literally just spoke on it, like, on Twitter, like, just yesterday. So,
yeah, that's true. A lot of
there's
people
like,
have.
they're still speaking up.
And that's kind of like the sad part that like NWA were the first ones to say, and a lot of people call them crazy and stupid for that. But look at that, like what F the Police was released in 86, 87. We're 30 years into the future. We're still saying the same thing because things have clearly not improved, to be sure.
Mm-mm.
Just a couple days ago, I don't want to get too much into the detail, but everybody knows who we're talking about. For
Mm-hmm.
sure that 30 plus years later, we're still experiencing the same problems that we did back in the 80s, and it's a
Exactly.
sad truth, but it's there. It's still there to this day. Say
Yeah,
that.
I guess you could say in a way like NWA, they kind of gave a voice to the voiceless with like
Yeah,
police
for sure.
injustice, and not just with police injustice and brutality, but also with like the problem of drugs and our
Yeah,
community
exactly.
and everything. So it's like and like young kids having to grow up seeing like their dad or their uncle or somebody get shot and killed right in front of them, all that type of stuff. So it's
Exactly.
like
Exactly.
or seeing people overdose and all that. But they really had a voice for the voiceless in a lot of those areas. Like even myself, like I ain't
True.
gonna lie, I don't really listen to NWA, but I do know about their activist side of them, and I really do
For sure.
like the fact that they did stand up and speak out on a lot of stuff that was injustice to our community and that was going on in our community, and it
For
really
sure.
opened up the eyes to a lot of people, that wasn't
That's true.
in that didn't even know that lifestyle even existed. You know what I'm saying? So yeah.
Exactly, exactly, and that's the thing about me. I'm a huge like compared to you, like, because I know you told me about this, but me when it comes to NWA, man, I can tell you all about like the first album, second album, the EP they had, the breakup, like Lord, I could go on and on, but like that's what I'm saying. NWA was such a big inspiration to show that like you could come from the lowest parts of society to show that you can go from barely making $100 a week and having to turn your life into something else just to take care of the family, just because you know that you want to get out there. You want to be able to make something of yourself, not just if I died today, what can I say I've done for myself? And
Exactly.
NWA was a big part of that because, if you look at all of them lived in the hood. Not all of them lived that hood life, like if you know their history, like Eazy-E and Ren were the only actual true gangsters of the crew. But NWA is the perfect example of showing that like they just wanted to be known in their hood. They didn't want to become worldwide artists like they ended up becoming. And that
Hmm.
just comes to show, me, I'd be happy if I was the most known artist where I live right now. I don't even
Mhm.
care about like getting out there. If I know that I made an impact where I live, and where I live isn't a bad area, but a lot of people be doing bad things, stupid things, like if they were
Right.
living that type of life, you know. So I like to kind of be a voice of like saying like y'all gotta simply stop acting up, you know, because a lot of people have to live that life. A lot of people don't have to, but a lot of people do, and
Mhm.
that's why, you know, it's a sad truth that we still see those problems to this day, for sure.
Right.
So, yeah.
And kind of closing out this interview, I just want to know is there any I always like to ask this question.
Hmm.
Um well, I guess you could say I already kind of already asked it, but
Kinda.
you know, I like to do a fun fact question and then go on. So,
Yeah, good. Yeah, go
what is your
ahead.
favorite era of hip hop? We already know it now, but what's your favorite era of
Eh,
hip hop? And like,
I wonder if the fans could have ever guessed. Oh
and
my
now, oh
god.
gosh, oh, I would have never known.
For sure, 80s and 90s, no doubt.
Uh,
You know, just simply like all the. I love today's producing. I love the beats they make today. Like, don't get me wrong, they can be really good. But you know, 80s and 90s was the where it's where it started. You know, what I
right.
mean, putting funk into a beat, putting like samples into a beat, and that's some that like, you know, yeah, you'll see it today, but I just feel like 80s and 90s they didn't have anywhere to look back on. You know, what I mean,
Mm-hmm.
us as rappers, people will compare us to other rappers because there have been rappers who have already done what we're doing. But for let's say artists like Eazy-E, Tupac, Queen Latifah, Big L, they didn't have anybody to look back on. They couldn't be like, oh, I want to be like this rapper. No, they had to be their own thing. And
Right.
that's what I love so much about that. Everybody was so original. Not one rapper was too much like the other.
Mm-hmm.
And you know, that's what's so great about it, especially like I said, like yeah, you see me, I do the old school style mixing with a little new school here and there. But like I said, like back then, you know, you either had to be original or you wouldn't be in the come up. And
Right.
it's really that simple, you know, like me, you know, with the couple left projects I have left for 2020, right? I have one called Fresh Dragon Entertainment Presents the Fresh Prince, and I have Funky Fresh. The Fresh Prince is gonna be like a little mix of old school and new school. You know what I mean? You'll hear like some you might hear Biggie rap on, but you'll also hear some that you might hear like Chance the Rapper, Kendrick Lamar, J. Cole, like some a little bit more new school in the modern era that you would
Mm-hmm.
hear. But then like Funky Fresh is strictly like it's funk, you know, Rick James, James Brown, Parliament, 70s, 80s. That's all you'll hear on it. And that's why, like I said, like I'm really gonna be showing that side of me 2020, 21, because I also got an old school EP. I think I told you about this actually. I got an old school EP coming out that's strictly beats that have already been made that you probably heard your pops listening to, or maybe your favorite hip hop song from the 90s. You probably already heard it. So that's really what I'm going towards, you know what I mean? Like I'm really trying to show that, yeah, I'm old school, but I don't want to be considered just an old school style, you know what I
Right.
mean? So, but for sure, 80s to 90s is where it's at for me, for sure.
Everybody says that 80s and 90s. I'm waiting for somebody to say I don't freaking know the 30s with hip hop or something like one of them old groups. I don't even.
It's like, hey, hip hop's been around for decades, man. You just gotta look for the right artists, you know. Like even who was the one? Who was the one that sang that song Tutti Frutti? Who was the one that
Oh,
sang
oh
that?
my gosh, Little Richard, yeah.
Little Richard, yeah, he
Whoa.
just rest in peace, rest in peace. He just passed away. But
Yes.
if you listen to like his rhythms, the things he was doing on the piano, the things he do, you would hear a lot of that in future hip hop beats. You know what I mean?
Literally,
Or if you
wop baba doo bop deep bop boop is like a whole trap song right there. Like, do you hear these rappers right now? Like literally, they
it's
just took the
literally,
little part of Lil Richard saying wop baba doo bop deep bop boop and just
that's
spread
what
that
I'm
part out.
saying.
They ignored the rest of the song. You
That's
know,
literally the beat. That's the beat. You
yeah,
know,
that's
that's
the
literally the
beat
beat.
and the
And not only
lyrics.
that, exactly. And like you look at like Frank Sinatra. Frank Sinatra was hard. You know what
He
I
was
mean?
a
Like you can't
rapper.
lie. That dude. Exactly. Like, and he was the first one to kind of say like "F the police." You know, even Logic said, be like Frank Sinatra say, "Mother the police." You know what I mean? It's like
Mm-hmm.
hip hop's always been around. You just got to really look into it, and you'll be like, "Oh wow, that's where it kind of that's the origins right there." You know what I mean? So. Like I said, hip hop has always been around. I really don't think it's going anywhere anytime soon. And hip hop's always evolving. You know, like every 10 years, you kind of take a new step in what hip hop's gonna sound like, you know. But
Exactly.
but yeah, for me, like I said, I mess with the 40s and 50s. You know, doo wop is where it's at. You know what I mean? But you know, if we're talking about like the real is what I'm always feeling, it's 80s and 90s all
Oh
day.
yeah, of course. I
But
mean, that's
yeah,
original hip hop. Also,
that's it right there.
I'm waiting for somebody to say the early 2000s were like Mace and P Diddy. I know if I interview somebody that was like maybe born in 2005, they're probably gonna say the early 2000s. You know what I'm saying? But since we were born in like the late 90s, like it's kind of
Late
like
90s, early
early.
2000s. Yeah,
Yeah, like me and you, since we're born in the late 90s, early 2000s, we're always gonna
yeah,
go back to like
that's
the
true.
90s and 80s. You know.
It's like I would have said the 2000s because you got a lot of great artists. You know, you got Nelly, you got The Game, you got 50 Cent. Eminem came out in, well, he specifically came out in 96, but he didn't really get any recognition until 99. But,
Hmm.
you know, when you bring Eminem's influence into the rap game, you know, you definitely see its impact. You know, there's Royce the 5'9", there's Slaughterhouse, King Crooked. You know what I mean? Like, there was a lot of
Hmm.
great artists in the 2000s, but, like, if we're talking about like my favorite, like when we're comparing artists, producers, the sound, specifically the sound, like that's where it really gets me. And the messages, I gotta go 80s and 90s. You know
Yeah,
what I
I'm
mean? The
like even
original.
myself, like mine's is the 80s and 90s, but it's like I want to see somebody say, "Oh, my favorite era of music is right now," or "Oh, my favorite era of music is like early
I'm sure
2000s."
a lot of people just right now, man.
Like I
I'm
want to
sure a lot
see
of people got
somebody
it
say
now.
that, and I want them to
Uh,
explain why. Like why it,
uh,
especially now. Like if they say my favorite era of music is from like 2013 on up to now, I'm gonna be like, why? Like why
Ooh.
is it?
It's like I'm gonna tell you, I think hip hop is getting a little better
Yeah,
now, you know,
it's more
compared to let's say.
versatile.
Exactly. Like, you know, I ain't gonna lie. Like, a lot of rappers today, we kind of moved away from the mumble rap in a way. It's still there, but
Hmm.
it's not really there if you go back to like 2016, 2017. And you know, like I said, hey, mumble rap, it's definitely got its fans out there. It's not my type of style that I enjoy. But I definitely think we're kind of moving forward in hip hop again because, you
Oh
know,
yeah.
for a good while, I'm not gonna name no artists because I don't want to lose my fan base because I bet a lot of my fans, you know, enjoy artists of today. But you know, for a good while, there just wasn't a lot of good music coming out. You know what I
Mm-mm.
mean? And like now, you're definitely getting artists who, even though a lot of the raps aren't making sense, they definitely got bars, and you got to give them that. They might be
Yeah.
stupid bars, but they're bars, and like they actually make you think. You're like, ooh, that was stupid, but ooh, that was hot. You
Yeah, like
know?
the
So
way he
like,
flew to that. Oh man.
exactly, like at least like I can actually understand what he said. You know what I mean? And one
Hmm.
none like not I like I said, I want to say so many things, but but yeah, that's what I'm saying. Like, I definitely think like you know with this new generation of hip hop, it's definitely going like in a better direction than I could say we were in like 4 to 5 years ago, honestly.
Yeah, like
But yeah,
4 or 5 years ago, I really like literally Nas made an album said hip hop is dead. I'm like, even he gave
oh
up. I'm like,
yeah, I
okay, if he gave
remember.
up, then it's
Yo,
done. I'm like,
it's
it's
over.
done.
It's over.
If
Nah,
Nas says it's done, then it's done.
even J. Cole, like I don't know if you ever heard the song. This was a good 3 years ago. He made the song called "Everybody Dies,"
Yes.
and you heard it. He didn't say no names. The closest he said to a name was Lil whatever. But then, especially back in like what 2016, 2017, almost every new upcoming rapper was Lil
Lil.
something, Lil Uzi, Lil Savage, probably Lil Yachty. You know, what I mean, there were so many Lils coming out still to this day. You know,
Hmm.
but what was so unique about that, J. Cole was dissing the new school, but then J. Cole wasn't that. You know, J. Cole came out like nothing more than 10 years ago when he released that song. So it kind of comes to show that like even Jay kind of had to jump on not the bandwagon, but kind of show like y'all new school rappers, you know, y'all want to talk about money and all that, but y'all ain't got like the talent to show it. You know what I mean?
True.
And that's something that keep real to me, you know, like my most recent song, Fresh Dragon, it may not have the most views, but you'll definitely hear lots of bars, lots of lyricism in it. And that's kind of why I shoot towards. You know, when I work with artists, I don't look at the views. I don't look at, oh, are you loved by this many people? I look at
Hmm.
what can you actually do? You know, can you
Exactly.
actually spit bars? Can you rhyme? Are you lyrical? I don't care if you keep it clean or not, because that's something that not a lot of people do.
Mhm.
But for me, I care more about what's your message. What are
Mhm.
you trying to go for?
And
What
how
I
you
mean, can you
deliver it.
spit bars? Exactly.
Mm.
Because you could spit bars, but if you ain't putting that emotion in it, you might as well just be talking to one of your homeboys. You know what I mean? Or
Right.
like if you a rapper and you going hard, but you saying a lot of things, but I don't understand it. It ain't really worth it. You know what I mean?
Exactly.
Like that's what I'm saying. Like for me, it took me a long time to kind of be where I am. And I still got lots of work
Mhm.
because no matter who you are, you're always gonna have a lot of work on. You know what I
Right.
mean? You could hit number one album. That's just gonna give you more work because you gotta show why you hit number one. You gotta show why you're not a one time hit. And that's why, like for me, this rap career that I got going on, it's never gonna stop because I'm always gonna have something to prove. Even if I do make it, let's say Chance the Rapper signs me, Lil Wayne signs me, Ludacris signs me, somebody, that is not over for me. I still got lots to do. I still got lots to prove, and that's kind of like the career of any artist who wants to jump into the game. You always gotta be expected to keep on working harder than you did last time, and that's just being real for
Exactly, man.
sure.
And
Sure.
just last question, what
Go
is
ahead.
any advice or, message you would like to give to any up and coming content creators and just entertainers?
Focus on your mental health. Focus on who you are first, because one way I lost myself was the reason I took such a long break is because I didn't love myself, I didn't love my music, and I didn't even know who or what I was trying to be.
Mhm.
So when you're kind of in that place, you kind of try to like lean towards more of what people want because
Mhm.
you want to start getting views, you want to start getting money, you want to start getting up there. And that's why, like I said, if I wanted to, I could easily dye my hair multicolored, start getting face tattoos, start saying stupid stuff all the time on my songs, and easily blow up.
Yeah.
But that's what I'm saying. You got to really know what you're trying to do, what you're trying to say, and who you're trying to be. And that's why I said mental health is always going to come first, because if you don't, it's very sad to say, but the era we're in, drugs is a very big problem, just like it's always been, really. But like especially now, look at Mac Miller, Lil Peep, Juice World, and even X. X didn't die by a drug overdose, but he
Mhm.
had problems with drugs. And these other rappers, they may have seemed happy at times. Mac Miller always seemed like a happy, cool dude, but look at how his life ended.
Yeah.
And that's what I'm saying. Like, you really got to focus on your mental health. Like, and this is everybody, where you're a singer, a rapper, a dancer, you're trying to become one of the smartest people in your class, whatever you're trying to do, trying to get into a relationship, trying to get into a good college, trying to get a good career, know who you are and what you want first. Because if you don't, you might even come to hate that thing at one time. Because me, I almost came to hate hip hop at one time because
Mhm.
I didn't like my own music at one point, you know what I mean? Because I heard everybody saying the same thing. I'm like, okay, you know what? They're right. And it almost made me almost hate my own craft, where I was like, you know what? Forget hip hop. I'm either gonna do something else or I'm gonna do it the way they want. And
Mhm.
that's what I'm saying. Like, that's why you really gotta focus on your depression, on your anxiety. If you think you can handle it, hey, by all means go for it. But if you know that it's causing you more damage than should be doing you good, just like anything else, take your time with it. Ain't nobody rushing you. You definitely young. I was a young kid when I came into the rap scene, so I definitely should have taken my time. Because if I
Mhm.
did, I'm very mature for my age right now. I could have reached this level, this new side, this new piece of mind years ago if I took my time and focused on myself. And I definitely think that's what everybody should do. Know what you want to do, know what you want to hear, not what everybody wants to hear. Because if it's that, you're never gonna please anybody. Look at just a great example I love to give. Look at Tupac and look at Takashi 69. Just an example. I'm not saying who I like, who I don't like. I think you know who. But okay, I think you know who.
Yeah.
But just being straight up, and this doesn't even have to be these two artists. Just think of an old school artist with a new school. Both of them made very different music. Both of them have very different messages, sounded very differently, and did everything differently. But you still got people who adore 6ix9ine and the people who hate him. But you still have people who obsess over Tupac and who can't stand him. So
Mhm.
it just comes to show, no matter what you do, no matter what type of music you do, no matter what type of audience you try to please, you're always going to have them haters. And that's something that's never going to change. And that's why, like I said, the only reason I picked those two is because those are two very distinctly different artists who you can easily pick out what differences they have. And no matter what one did that the other didn't do, both of them still have people who love them and hated them. So,
Exactly,
uh,
man. And also with the fact that that you are doing, making music for yourself and not for the audience, but you're mostly making it for yourself. That's what builds up your creativity and builds up your
yeah,
originality. You know what I'm saying? Makes you more
exactly.
original when you make it for yourself compared to trying to sound like everybody else just to please, honestly, not everybody, but just a certain crowd of people. You know what I'm saying?
Exactly.
But
Exactly.
mhm,
And that's what I'm saying. Like, just one last thing I gotta say. Like, I guess like you could call this advice. As much as you heard me talk about Eazy and how I like to dress like him, how I like to take after him, you always gotta be yourself. All I'm
exactly.
simply doing, all I'm simply doing, I like how he dressed, so I'm gonna dress that way. Because like no matter how you dress, you're always gonna be copying somebody. Because hey, you're not the first one to dress like that, unless you really are. Then hey, props to you. But you always gotta. You can't be focusing on trying to be the next Tupac, trying to be the next Eminem, trying to be the next Chance the Rapper. Because no matter who you try to be after, there's always going to be only one person like that. And that's why
Exactly.
me, I'm trying to be easy fresh because there's never going to be a like me and there never has been another like me. So when you come up in the game, you always got to remember you want to be yourself. You know what I mean? You don't want to be tried being like other people. Look at LeBron, look at Kobe. They weren't trying to be like Michael Jordan. They weren't trying to be like Larry Bird, Julius Irving, none of them. That's why you see LeBron to this day at his age, a lot of people will retire at that age, but LeBron's still killing in the game like he was a couple years back. Not to mention he's still setting records. Why?
Mhm.
He's not trying to match Michael. He's not trying to tie with Kobe. He's not trying to do the records. He's trying to set a new roof for other new players to come up and be like, you know what? I don't want to copy none of these people. I want to reach my own level. I want to set the new bar. And that's honestly something that, it applies to all people, you know what I mean? Whether you're trying to be somebody coming up in college, you're trying to be somebody coming up in the rap game, you're trying to become an actor, don't spend your time trying to be too much like one person. Because when you do, what are you going to do when you accomplished everything that they accomplished? You know what I mean? You want to set new records. Look at One Direction. I know it's not the best idea, but look at One Direction. Broke a record from the Beatles. The Beatles were all the way back in the 60s. Why? Because One Direction was doing their own thing. Look at Eminem. Eminem was doing a whole new style of rap that nobody had ever seen before. And Eminem is one of the very few artists that we could say that he went diamond.
Mhm.
20 plus years into the game, and he is still relevant as he was in 99. Just to
Right.
show that don't waste your time trying to be somebody else, because if you are, don't expect to get anywhere, really,
Yeah,
because
cuz
there's a
it's
lot of people trying to be like that person.
and I'm like, there's no problem of looking up to people or even being inspired by people, but you
For
still
sure. But
always
trying
got
to
to add
be
your
there,
own. Yeah, you still got to
exactly.
add your own twist to it. Like, cause you got to think about like nobody's really original. Even hip hop artists, like the older
Yeah,
hip hop
that's
artists
true.
that we look up to, none of them are original. Like they all get their
That's
stuff from
true.
like
That's true.
R&B artists, jazz artists, funk artists.
True.
Like nobody. And then the funk artists, they get their stuff from gospel, soul. All it just goes on and on and on.
Gospel,
So
R&B, do what? Yeah,
so
for
it's
sure.
like nobody's original, but it's weird. It's like you mix up. It's like you're supposed to mix your originality with the people that you're inspired by. Like say like One
Mm,
Direction. I'm not gonna say One Direction themselves, but maybe their manager thought of like, oh, let me get a boy band just like the Beatles. You know what I'm
the
saying? But
Beatles, yeah,
we'll just
exactly.
have them sing pretty much similar song to the Beatles, but we'll just put it to modern music to make it sound more
Yeah, that's
original. You know what
true.
I'm saying?
That's
Like you
true.
just add your own slight twist to it. But everybody, is has
Everybody was born from somebody back then. You know what I mean?
yeah,
Like
like
I don't.
everybody has their own form of
Huh?
originality.
Exactly. Like it's okay to be inspired. It's okay to be motivated, but there's just a specific point where like you got to know when to be inspired and pay homage to being who you want to be. And that's something that a lot of people don't understand. You know what I mean? Like
Right.
if I pay homage to Eazy-E by saying one of his lines, a lot of people are gonna take that the wrong way. Oh, why are you trying to copy him so much? Why you trying? No, I'm just simply paying homage to show who got me into the rap game, who made me start being easy fresh. You know what I
Right.
mean? being easy fresh and trying to be like Eazy, those are two completely different things for me. And that's what people gotta learn. It's okay to be inspired, it's okay to be motivated, but there's a point where you gotta learn the difference between paying homage and being disrespectful, honestly. Because
Exactly. Like
sometimes,
say like when
mhm,
people make their whole career off of like literally imitating artists like Elvis or Michael Jackson. I'm like, there's no
mhm,
originality in that. You're out in Vegas dressed up
exactly,
like Michael Jackson, dancing like him, singing like him. You have no originality
mhm,
to yourself. You're like literally living in the shadows of like somebody else, compared to
exactly,
like being inspired and
mhm,
maybe even sounding like their vocals may sound similar to somebody, but what you're
true.
talking about may be completely different, or the beats that
And
you
that's
rap over may be completely different.
and that's not even their fault when they sound like that person. Because like I
Yeah.
said, like you can sound like anybody. You know what I mean? Look at what happened with Future and Designer. I remember first time listening to Designer on Panda, and I thought, oh, I didn't know Future came out with a new song. You know what
Mm-hmm.
I mean? So I guess that there are things that you will never be able to control. At
Right.
the same time, some of the best things to do is give the new generation to look up to somebody the way you looked up to somebody in the past. You know what I mean? And
Exactly.
that's what we try to, at least me in my mind, that's what I try to do as an artist. I may never become famous. This YouTube video, it might go viral in 100 years for all I know.
Mm-hmm.
But all I know is that whether I make it or not, I want to know that I at least impacted a couple people and made them think a little differently. And that's what
Exactly.
we try to do. And that's what we try to do as artists. I prefer having one real fan over 100 bandwagon fake kissing fans. Because that's who I am. I care more about what's real and what's not. I can't be lying to myself. I can't be blinded to the fact that, yeah, I think I'm exceptionally good at what I do, simply because I've been working on this for years. But I'm going to be lying to myself if I say I'm the best out there. I'm going to be lying to myself if I say I'm the next Tupac. You know
Mm-hmm.
what I mean? So that's why, yeah, you should always know who you are. You should always have a little confidence, but never go too overboard and always remember who you really are, and I think that's what's always going to matter.
Exactly, man. And before we close out, please share your social media pages with people and tell people to check out your latest music, all that type of stuff.
So for sure. So my Instagram is EC, like the last letter of the alphabet CECFRESH1, like the number one, not like the word one. EC Fresh One. There you'll find my SoundCloud, you'll find my YouTube that'll be starting up soon. By the way, check out the new song I got right now. It just came out yesterday. It's called Fresh Dragon with a homie JOD Dub. He really killed it on that track. And the more views you give me, the more I'll be more than happy to give. The less views you give me, I'm gonna still give. I don't really care. It's what I like, what I want. If I'm appreciate. If all I get is 20 views, hey, I'm gonna be really happy for the 20 people who viewed me. But yeah, and expect a lot more coming out this summer, this year, and more to come. But yeah,
Yo, all right. Thank you for being on the show. Can't wait to have you on
thank you.
again soon. So thank you. Peace.
Take care.